Hey everyone, it's Alex Creely with Commonwealth Fusion Systems. Welcome back to the SPARC site. We've made a lot of progress since we were here last time. I'm very excited to show you around the whole facility, show you around all the systems that we now have operating, to see the Tokamak getting put together and getting closer and closer to doing fusion. So if you want to follow me, we'll head in the front door. So we've now just come in the front of the SPARC facility and we're standing in the first floor of the Diagnostics Building. Since we last had this tour, we now actually have a bunch of the systems in the SPARC plant really operating. So we've got cryogenics operating, we've got a lot of the cooling water operating, some of the big electrical systems, some of the radio frequency heating. All of these support systems that you need to make the Tokamak work, we're commissioning them, we're putting them through their paces, we're making sure that all these things work exactly like we want, so that by the time we put the Tokamak together and hooked everything up, we are like ready to go, we are practiced, we're ready to turn that machine on and start doing some fusion. So if you want to follow me upstairs, we'll talk more. So we are now on the second floor of the Diagnostics Building. We just walked past the local control room where we're running a lot of these commissioning tests for the industrial systems. A lot of fine electronics, a lot of scientific instrumentation is going to be in this portion of the building. So we've got some electronic shops, some shops where we'll put some of this instrumentation together. But behind me and in the other rooms in this building, we will have a lot of measurements. So instrumentation that we use to see what's going on inside the Tokamak. Some of these are just really just to know what's happening so we can run the machine more effectively. So the same reason your car has a speedometer on it, we want to know the temperature of what's inside, how much fusion power we're making. In addition to that, we want to make some more detailed, sciencey measurements so that we can understand tokamaks better, understand what's going on inside the plasma better, and use that information to design ARC, our power plant, more effectively to make it more cost-effective and the most efficient plant that we can possibly come up with. So now we're in one of the diagnostic labs here in the SPARC facility, specifically the Neutron Lab. Deuterium-tritium fusion makes a lot of neutrons. Actually, most of the power comes out in neutrons. And by measuring how fast they're moving, exactly where they're produced, we can get a lot of information out about what's going on inside the Tokamak and use that to make our future designs better. So if you want to follow me, we'll now go out and see the actual Tokamak itself. So we are now in the Tokamac Hall, which is where the actual SPARC Tokamak itself will get put together. So every day this is a busier and busier area with more and more pieces of the Tokamak coming in. We're getting them ready, starting to put them together, which is super exciting. We've got some big pieces in here now. The bottom down there is the base of the cryostat. It's the foundation of the machine, but also it has to have a whole ton of things come up through it. So cryogenics to keep the magnets cold, the electrical current leads to power the magnets, a lot of instrumentation all come through there. We've got multiple toroidal field coils now. So we manufacture them in our factory just across the way. We ship them over here, we prep them, we're starting to put them together to where they'll be in the actual Tokamak. We've also got both halves of our vacuum vessel. So those two kind of semicircle things on the other side there, they're being assembled, or a lot of work we're doing inside them. As we go forward and forward, we'll eventually end up with two halves of Tokamaks on these two orange stands here. We'll bring them together and we'll set them down on top of the base. And so if you want to follow me this way, we'll continue to see the rest of the plant and how we're getting ready. So we've just come out of the Tokamac Hall. We're now in the assembly hall and the radio frequency building. So this building has two jobs. First, the assembly area. This is where all the big pieces of SPARC come in. So as we finish magnets, as components come in from vendors, we receive them here, we unpackage them, we clean them, we prep them, then they go into the Tokamac Hall for assembly into the SPARC Tokamak itself. In addition to that, this building also has all the radio frequency heating to get the fusion fuel hot in SPARC. So just as a reminder, we heat the fuel with radio waves. Works basically like a microwave oven, but rather than microwaves, we use FM radio, 120 megahertz, a little bit higher, but basically FM radio. So all of these spiky cylinders behind me, that's how we generate the radio waves. They then go through this coax transmission line. You can think of it like a giant cable into the back of your internet router, but it carries really high power radio waves. Those go into the Tokamak, plug into the side of the Tokamak, and get the fusion fuel hot enough to start fusing. So next we'll go walk through the power building. Follow me this way. So we're now walking through the power building, which is where we have all the electronics that we use to run the magnets in SPARC. So the SPARC magnets are electromagnets. That means you need to run electricity through them to make them work. And so this is where we have all the energy storage and all the power supplies to get everything working. So you can think of it like that little box that's on the cable between your laptop and the wall that transforms the voltage and the current into what you need. We have the same thing, just a lot more of them, and a little bit bigger. We're gonna pause here as well. This is our cryogenic yard. So as I was saying before, you need to keep the magnets cold so that they operate well. We'll see some of that refrigeration stuff in the next building, but this is where we store all the helium, both warm and cold, as we get ready to run the pulses in SPARC and as we get ready to turn on the cryo plant and everything. So very large tanks, a lot of cold helium in there, but it's a really cool facility and it lets us make this whole thing work. So we are now in the utility building, which has the main job of taking heat out of the fusion machine. We do that in two ways. One is the cryo plant for the magnets. So in order for the magnets to work, they need to be at roughly 8 Kelvin. It's like minus 260 Celsius. It's very, very cold. That facility is actually now totally installed and up and running. So this big plant over here, that cools down. We've operated it at the actual cooling power we need. It works. We're now just getting more and more comfortable with it, getting some experience. So by the time we hook it up to the actual Tokamak, we're really confident in how everything works. In addition to that, on this side of the building, we've recently installed a whole bunch of pieces of what we call the vessel heating and cooling system. When we're actually doing fusion, this system takes the main fusion heat out. So it's got room temperature helium. That helium flows through the vacuum vessel of the Tokamak, and we use that to cool it off and take the main fusion heat out. In a power plant, this is where you eventually install a steam turbine and make some electricity. So before we head out of the SPARC building, we're gonna stop and talk a little bit about ARC. So as we said before, SPARC is super exciting. It's a stepping stone on the pathway to a fusion power plant. And here at CFS, our fusion power plant we call ARC. We're still in the design stages of this, but we're making a lot of really great progress. The first ARC will be in Virginia. We have a site picked out, super excited about that. Right now it's just a field. Not too long from now, we'll be building a fusion power plant there. And everything we learn about SPARC as we're finishing the construction, as we're commissioning, we're starting to incorporate that into the ARC design. Thank you so much for coming back to the SPARC facility. It's always fun to talk about fusion. It's always fun to talk about SPARC. It's really exciting to see all the progress we've made here. We're now operating the plant. We're now putting the actual Tokamak itself together. It's all really making a ton of progress really quickly, and we're really excited for what comes next, both here at SPARC and down in Virginia for the first ARC power plant.